Greetings, book lovers everywhere. I'm E-Train and welcome to E-Train Talks. And I've got to say, I am on cloud nine right now because I am here today. I'm welcoming back. That's right. I have my first returning guest author here today, and one of the very first writers I interviewed on E-Train Talks. The first author who ever requested to be interviewed. That's right. The first. I'm talking about the one and only middle grade author of the ALA Gold Standard, KELCIE Murphy, and the Academy for the Unbreakable Arts. Woo! A thrilling mythological fantasy and downright awesome tale that I absolutely loved. So much so, I remember talking about a possible sequel in my first talk with Erika back in April. And rumor has it, Erika has a new book coming out. Could it be a sequel? Here to shed some light on this exciting news is the amazingly talented and wonderful Erika Lewis. Thank you so much for joining me for a second time.
It's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming, and I'm just so excited because you have a new book out, and we all want to know a little bit about it. So tell us, Are the rumors true? Do you really have a new book coming out, and could it be the sequel for KELCIE Murphy?
Sequel. And I actually see a picture of the new cover behind you, KELCIE Murphy and the Hunt for the Heart of DANU. And that is the sequel to book one. What should I tell you? It comes out May 23rd. Did I already say that? Very excited. Right after the paper book comes out of KELCIE, which is also awesome, the first book. And I'm actually just holding the whole thing right here because I'm going through the final, make sure there's no typos and all that kind of fun stuff. They call it the past pages. So very exciting.
It is super duper exciting. And can you share a passage from the sneak peek prologue of your newest novel, KELCIE Murphy for the Heart of DANU?
Yes. So the good news is if you want to read the prologue too, it is up on Nerd Daily. And I don't know, can you put it up on yours?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so good. So read it on yours. They just are releasing the sneak peek. I'm going to start on page 4 of the prologue and introduce you to some new characters, because part of the story, which I'm sure we'll start talking about, is that it takes place also in the lands of winter, who Lands of Summer is at war with. So here we go. Lexis turned to say something inspirational to her Fianna. Swap stretched, farting at the same time. Lexis chuckled, shaking her head, relishing the tension release. Swappy Toots was small for his age, and the youngest in her Fianna, still 11. He was the craftiest of changelings, except for one little problem that always gave him away. He fizzled whenever he got excited, or nervous, or sad. Really, any emotion could bring on the gas. I heard that, Jack growled. Swappy smirked. Better than smelling it. Jack Postal was a legend. He morphed into his saber-toothed tiger familiar first year. His mother was Bev, one of the 3 Morigna, and a goddess of vengeance, which was why he never forgave Lexis for choosing Swappy to be in their Fianna. She chose Jack for his eyes. So blue they glowed during selection. So intense they rattled Lexis and challenged her ever since. Behind him, the last member of their Fianna ignored them. Pavel was busy scrutinizing every inch of his ice armor. He bent his elbow, testing movement, then shaved a millimeter off, only to have it back again. Ever since word came that his aunt was imprisoned in summer, Pavel had turned into an extreme perfectionist, as if preparing to go and get her back. There's a lot of little Easter eggs in those paragraphs, too.
There are a lot of Easter eggs, and I've already read the prologue, but I'm even more intrigued now to keep on reading and discover what happens next in the Heart of DANU, and everybody is as well. And I have a couple questions ready based off of that very prologue, which you can find, as she said, on Nerd Daily and on my website, everyone. Yeah. So, I love your book title, The Heart of DANU. Can you share anything about what your book title means, or will that give away too much about the story?
No, I won't give away too much. You know, a significant amount of this story is ripped right out of Irish mythology. And DANU, like Baylor, is a part of Irish mythology, and she is the mother goddess. She is sort of, I don't want to call her the Zeus because they're goddesses and gods are more they're more influential in your life than they are like the bosses.
Yeah.
So there it's a very matriarchal pantheon, like a lot of Celtic mythologies, but yes, that's what that's in reference to. But I don't want to tell you too much more.
Well, Celtic mythology is pretty much my favorite mythology because I read so many fast-paced and interesting books about all the gods and goddesses. And now we have the KELCIE Murphy books that are just another addition to the wonders of Irish mythology.
Yeah.
And for those who haven't read book one, of course, if you haven't, you really need to read it. It's so good. But for those who have, the story takes place in the summer, and Heart of DANU takes place in the winter. Can you share why you incorporated seasons into your story, and were there any differences between writing a winter and summer protagonist?
Yes. Well, the interesting part about book two, without giving too much away, the prologue takes place in winter and it sets up the story. But the story actually is fundamentally about this war between these two lands. Now, in my mind, summer and winter everybody was always fighting over which season of the year. And okay, fall and spring are easy because it's sort of the in-between. But if you had to struggle through summer, if you had to struggle through winter, which would you choose? And so they were the harder ones to live through. So I don't know, it just felt natural. And when you're talking about the other world, it was always supposed to be this perfect climate in most of Celtic mythology. Excuse me. So it just felt like, it was the perfect thing. That she's from Massachusetts, summer versus winter. I don't know. But anyway, the book itself actually is from both perspectives. So the good news is you'll still have KELCIE in winter, KELCIE in summer, and you'll have Lexis in winter. And they're going to go back and forth because this story fundamentally is about this war that has been going on for so long that people can't even remember what it's about. And it's about the art of diplomacy. It's about learning to talk to each other instead of talking at each other. Yeah. It's about, ultimately trying to end the war. Of course, winter wants to end the war by demolishing summer, and summer wants to end the war by demolishing winter. But really, what do these kids want to do, and how do they want to play a part in this war? So it's a big story. It bounces back and forth between these two characters, both of which are in their own Fiannas. So there's more characters, right? Yeah. And I do introduce a lot of characters. I'm sorry. I don't know why. I just tend to.
There's no need to apologize for that.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a big story. It's a little bit longer. Not a whole lot. I mean, the first one was still pretty long. But yeah. So there you go. That's the answer to that, I guess.
Well, summer and winter are polar opposites, so it makes sense that they're both fighting in a never-ending war, because it feels like that discussion is like a never-ending war, like cats and dogs.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And you do not need to say sorry for introducing more characters and adding more to the plot and making the book longer, because I wanted KELCIE Murphy to be longer. I wanted it to be like a 1,000-page story because I was so into it. I was reading it whenever I had the chance.
Yeah, we're hitting Shannon Messenger length at this point.
Yeah. And I know it's not easy to choose, but is there one protagonist in either of your books that's the closest to your heart?
Well, protagonists in the story would be either KELCIE or Lexis. I would say that I probably have more in common with Lexis in terms of, and her struggle in this story is about trying to do the right thing, but not knowing what that right thing is. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a harder struggle. So I think I had more sympathy for Lexis in this story. I think with KELCIE, her struggles are so much more personal in this story. Not, we meet and we see a lot of the people she saw in her vision in book one. If you haven't read it, I don't want to spoil anything. But she's reintroduced to parts of her family without giving too much away, and she sees more of the lands of summer. So for her, it's an exploration of really who she is also, because where Lexus has always grown up in winter, KELCIE is suddenly put into this world, and has she really accepted who she is? And that's all part of her learning to control her powers. So,
Well, I think that Lexus's struggle is one that we can kind of all relate to at times. So I think we all feel a little bit of sympathy for her, but also we can kind of relate to her. Like, we all have that struggle of, am I doing the right thing? Did I do something really wrong, even if I thought it was right?
yeah.
Like, and I do think that KELCIE's struggle as well can also be kind of relatable. Like, we're all still finding ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's so great that it's a dual point of view story, which are some of my favorites. And
Good.
I think that having two characters from two different lands, two different perspectives, grown up in two different ways, like seeing how they view the war, that's gonna be so, so interesting. And I know that everyone's gonna love it. And speaking of, you were talking about Fianna's. We have KELCIE Murphy's Fianna against Lexus's Fianna. But, so basically, everybody, a Fianna is kind of a group designated by your powers. Whether you go to the summer prestigious school or the winter school, you get assigned into a Fianna. What Fianna group do you think you'd be chosen into once you passed all the tests, Erika?
Well, there's the one that I would want to be chosen into, like everybody, and the one that I would totally end up if I was in. Now I have to pick from both sides, because if I was going to choose a Fianna to be in, I would absolutely love to be a changeling, because I think that could be so much fun. I mean, the idea of just like, because in this one you have to touch the whoever you want to change into, you have to physically touch them in order to change into them. And once you change back, you can't change again. So there are some rules around being a changeling. But Swappy has the most fun in the entire plot. I absolutely would love to be a changeling. And then if I was put into the Fianna, I would probably, knowing me, I would probably end up being in the Charger Fianna, mainly because when I was a kid, a lot like Zephyr, I was really afraid of horses, even though I was riding them all the time, because my great uncle had a bunch of horses, and go out to his place way out in Maryland and be forced to ride, and half the time I'd get thrown off, and I would be terrified, and I sort of had to force myself over that fear. So knowing all of the way that these things are chosen, which den I would end up in, I would most definitely get forced into being a Charger like Zephyr was. So,
well, I know that any Fianna that you get put into, it's going to be a lot of fun, because all the characters, they're all so unique, and I really enjoy the fact that you introduce so many characters, because we really get to know and love all these characters. I'm saying the word characters a lot, and
that's okay.
And I don't know what I'd be chosen into. I think I'd have to read The Heart of DANU first, because then there might be a Fianna more fit for me. But what do you think, everybody?
You don't know which one you'd be in summer?
Yeah.
Summer, I would totally see you an adder.
Ooh.
That could be interesting. I could see you with, telepathy and telekinesis and like a little Jedi almost, kind of like Nile. But you're also a leader, so you could be a Charger. How are you with horses?
I've never ridden one, but it might be something fun to try and fall off and bruise myself.
The key is hanging on. That's something I've learned over the years. I think I would just literally ditch when it would get too much for me. I don't know that I was actually, thrown off the horse. I did have a horse get stung by a bee once, and that was terrifying because it
that must have been a crazy experience for the horse and you. And
it was.
Do you ever face the demon known as writer's block? And if so, how do you keep your ideas flowing and keep on writing?
That word is a scary word. So I try not to ever really think about it or use it. There are times when I'm tired and I need to get up and walk away from the screen. And sometimes that can be a couple hours, sometimes that can be a couple of days. It just depends upon how I'm feeling. But I think the best thing to do in those areas is to get outside, get some exercise. There's something about when oxygen starts pumping, when you start actually physically moving around, the ideas just come easier. Sitting down, being sedentary for too long, for me personally, it just makes me, so I have to change my settings. Sometimes I have to go to a coffee shop and get out of the house. Sometimes I have to go to the library. The library's the best because it's quiet. So sometimes it's just that.
Well, they say that a coffee shop is where J.K. Rowling came up with Harry Potter. Wrote it on a napkin. So I think coffee shops, I wouldn't really do anything there because I don't drink coffee. Not yet.
Well, they have other things too.
Yeah. I'll just sit there and pretend like I have a reason to be there other than just writing.
And sometimes the bookstores have coffee shops in them. So like Barnes & Noble does sometimes. Like I go up to, there's a place called Village Well in Culver City where I live. And I think about half of KELCIE Murphy was written there.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, before we start our rapid fire questions, I'm just curious to know. So you said that you are going to be on a panel at a book conference tomorrow at a workshop. So can you tell us a little bit about that workshop and
what it is? It's called the ALAN workshop. It's a part of the National Teachers. They had a big convention here over the weekend, and this is, I don't know, these extra 2 days of it. So I'm on a world building panel with Tracy Dion and Lizelle Sambury. Tracy wrote Legend Born, and Lizelle wrote Blood Like Fate. They're YA authors, little older stuff than I usually write, but it should be really fun. So I'm very excited about that. So that's tomorrow, and I think they'll probably put them up online afterwards, I think.
Well, I want to watch them online because I saw all the hoopla at NCTE, and I was like, I want to be there so bad. And now that new ALA conference, the edition, and I'm like, why am I stuck in Sacramento?
Oh, well, it's not that far from you. We're in Anaheim, so
that's true.
I can see Disneyland.
Oh, now you're just egging it on.
I'm sorry.
Well, I hope I can be there next year because it sounds like a lot of fun. And now it's time for some rapid fire questions. In my new Rumor Has It series, I've started for all the returning authors who have new and upcoming books. I've added a few rapid fire questions, so here goes. I know this is going to be a really tough question off the bat, but what is your favorite book from your childhood?
Well, I had two. Can I do two?
Yeah, you can do two.
A Wrinkle in Time, Madeline L'Engle, and I loved Fahrenheit 451, which was
those are two amazing ones. You have such a great book taste. All the Wrinkle in Time books are great, and Fahrenheit 451, chef's kiss. So good.
I think it blew my mind. I mean, just the opening line, I was just Ray Bradbury.
And like it's so ahead of its time, but also like not. Because like you have book banning now and book burning then.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the saddest part is that that book keeps becoming relevant because we're not learning from our mistakes.
They say history repeats itself, but it doesn't have to repeat itself.
Exactly.
And my next question is, what are you currently reading?
A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which is a young adult novel that's probably too old for middle grade readers because it's completely over the top. But I'm absolutely loving it. It's really fun.
I've heard of such great YA recommendations, and I can't wait until I'm a young adult and I can read them without being super confused the entire time and kind of scared.
I don't know if you'd be confused. It's just one of those things where it's very over the top. And I don't think it would be as much fun until you're a little older. How's that?
That's true. Middle grade is always so fun and hopeful. Yes. I don't want to leave middle grade books.
Yeah, YA is not always very hopeful. Not at least in the middle of it. So.
It's still important to have those kind of books though. And now, moving over to films, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, that's a hard one. I have a lot of favorite movies. I mean, the Star Wars original
Yes.
trilogies were my first loves. I went to the Lord of the Rings even right after I had given birth to my daughter. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm leaving you 2 weeks old, but I'm going to the movie theaters to see the Lord of the Rings. But I have so many. I loved Independence Day with Will Smith. I mean, I can watch that movie over and over and over again. I love the movie Practical Magic. I mean, I don't know. There's just so many that I loved. I think since we're coming into the holiday seasons, Home Alone, especially the sequel in New York. Oh, I love that.
Well, my dad loves all those Independence Day movies. He won't turn them off when they're on, and it gets kind of. But I like them. They're pretty entertaining. And I haven't watched Home Alone. I keep telling myself I need to watch it, but I haven't yet. So maybe when we get closer to the holidays, I'll have some hot cocoa and watch Home Alone. Maybe
They're always on. They're always on. Have you read from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Baisley to Frankweiler?
I haven't, but I like that's probably my top two. I have Are You There, God Is Me, Margaret on my TBR stack, and I need to have that one as well. So
that one is about kids that run away to live in the Met.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like when I watch Home Alone, especially the second one, because it's all about having an annoying family and you just don't want to go on vacation with them.
Yeah.
And for some reason, fate just always lets him escape going on these vacations. So it's kind of funny.
They do seem very funny and crazy. And also from the Mixed Up Files of Basil Frankwell, like I love so many E.L. Konigsberg books. We read them in school, and they are so interesting and unique. So I need to read Basil Frankweiler. And okay, my next rapid fire question is there a song that never fails to make you want to dance?
The theme song to Friends.
Oh yes, yes.
I'll be there for you it's the Rembrandts, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll be there for you.
Even if the show just comes on, I'm up.
Yeah. My mom loves Friends, so that's gonna make her smile. Because no one else watches it.
Oh no, it's funny.
I did the Lego for the Friends, but I haven't actually seen many of the shows. But they do seem pretty funny.
They're fun. They're a lot of fun.
And if you could choose, this is probably the toughest rapid fire question, but if you could choose 3 people to invite for a dinner party, who would they be and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay. I think I would, and it depends upon the years I'd be inviting. I would really love to invite Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah.
Just to get into the mind of that kind of painter. Robin Williams. I'm thinking all dead people. I would love to actually sit down and have a conversation with Robin Williams, because that would have been awesome. And now if we're picking from people now, Barack Obama.
Yes. Those are 3 great ones. Although Vincent van Gogh was a little
he was a little out of his mind. I think I wanted to see him in the early years.
Yeah. His out of his mind phase is really out of his mind. Although he made his best paintings then. We had this Van Gogh exhibition place near us. It was so magical.
It
with
was.
All the paintings flowing and leaves and grass and flowers.
He put so much movement into his paintings. And there's an episode from Doctor Who, I don't know if you've ever seen it, with, I think it was Matt Smith was Doctor Who then, and he brings the young Van Gogh, because Van Gogh had none of his success while he was alive.
Wow.
So he actually, I don't even know that he ever sold a painting while he was alive.
Really?
Yeah.
And I know that I read that he was actually colorblind a little bit. So that was that he had so much talent. He was like, I don't know what this color is, but I'm going to put it on here because I think it works.
Yeah. He was so ahead of his time. And so they have this great episode. You can watch the clip online where he takes him to see his own artwork hanging in museum, and watching people talk about them, and sort of, because he was just so unappreciated at all when he was painting. So
maybe he wouldn't have gone a little psycho and cut his ear off.
Maybe not. I think
Well,
artists make themselves that way.
Starry Night is probably my all-time favorite painting. So
Yeah.
it would be great to see young Van Gogh have his, like, hear his thoughts and maybe feel like, whoa, I can really paint. And
Yeah.
speaking of thoughts, do you
Yes.
prefer physical books, ebooks, or audiobooks?
I typically prefer physical books.
Me too.
You know, I will read ebooks if I'm traveling. But because I don't want to have to carry more than 2 or 3. It get kind of heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that with audiobooks, I find myself not necessarily diving into the story, more like hearing the words, but they kind of flow from ear to ear. But I think the narrators are amazing, but like,
You know what it is for me with audiobooks is I love audiobooks, but if I'm in the car, I'm okay. A lot of times though, if I'm just listening to something, it's like I hate this. Like when I'm watching something on
yeah,
a screen, like if I have the TV running in the background, I'm not paying attention to it. And so
yeah,
sometimes I feel like, oh wait, I gotta back it up because I didn't. But with a page, if you start to drift off, you're like, I'm gonna put this down because I'm kind of tired and I'll come back to it. And you don't have that luxury.
yeah, like when your mom
But-
calls you, you don't pause, you can't just put a bookmark in the
Yeah.
book. The audiobook keeps running, and I'm like, oh my God, what minute was I on? But
Yeah,
they're still
exactly.
so amazing. Although ebooks give me migraines because I can't stare at a screen for too long. It's like the white
Yeah.
page and
Yeah. Well, the good news is the new readers are actually they're making it look a little bit more like a book, so
ooh,
it's not as bright and it's and they're really lightweight, not to try and push readers on everyone, but if you have to do them, they're better than like reading ebooks on your screen on your computer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Although, like when you have the Kindle thingies, they're very helpful because like you can have 10 books on your Kindle, but you don't have to have
Yes.
10 physical books lugging them around and hurting your shoulder and neck. So
That's for travel. It is kind
yeah,
of nice to have especially if you have to go somewhere like your grandparents' house for Christmas and you're like, I'm just gonna take this, or for the holidays,
yeah.
I should say. Yeah.
And I mentioned this question in the beginning because it was kind of a segue. Cats or dogs?
Okay, I'm a dog person. But I
Okay.
love cats. So don't get me wrong. My mom has cats. She's got
Mhm.
4 cats and I love to go visit them, but I'm allergic.
Uh,
So I would have cats and dogs, but I have dogs. So
well, I love both of them, although I used to be kind of very afraid of dogs. Like my aunt had this Saint Bernard, I think, and like I was 3 years old and the dog was like so bigger than me, and I was
yeah,
like,
that's a big
ah,
one. You know what's weird is I was afraid of little dogs because they
oh
used to
yeah,
always
they
run up
do,
to my
yeah.
ankles
Mhm.
and freak me out.
They're like,
Well,
yep.
and I was always afraid they were going to bite my ankles. And so my mother actually had to buy a small dog. Like she was like forcing me to get over my fear.
Well, I still love dogs either way, although I'm more of a cat person just because they kind of stick to themselves and like they sometimes come over, but like they're not slobbering you and pooping very big poops. That's what my mom likes to say.
Well, yeah, at least the dogs are always going outside. So
That's
there is
true.
that.
We don't allow my cat to go outside, although he always wants to. Because my
Yeah.
mom's like, we don't want fleas and ticks in the house.
Well, my mom doesn't let her cats go out either. And yes, we have to keep the dog on medication for
Mm.
fleas and ticks, especially ticks these days. So
Well, I love both animals, and if you aren't allergic, if you had a cat, that would be such a you would love having a cat because they they're I don't know, there's something about them that kind of soothes you.
yeah.
Whereas maybe because they meow a lot, but they don't bark. So I feel like there might
Yes.
be a difference.
My golden retriever is about 70 pounds, and
Aw.
she's more like a person because she refuses to sleep on the floor. So she gets in the bed and she's like having a whole other body right there. And sometimes I wake up and I'm a pillow for her. So it is a little like having a toddler in the house all the time, whereas a cat will go and do their own thing. The dog is like, are you paying attention to me? Why aren't you paying attention to me? I'm sitting right here. Pay attention to me. And that's sometimes why I have to go to a coffee shop because she
Yeah,
tries
well,
to
it's still cute. I find that really cute, like their puppy dog eyes. And
Yes.
I'm going to be asking you with like those kind of eyes. Will there be a third book in the Kelsey Murphy series?
Yes, this is a trilogy. I'm
Whoa!
actually working on the third book now. And as far as I know right now, that'll be it will come to a satisfying conclusion, the story, at that point, and then I guess we'll find out if there's going to be more after that.
I hope there will be more, but if there is, I'm okay with satisfying conclusions, not just an author ending a series where it should not be ended and there's room like for more. But I'm happy with the satisfying conclusion. I'm satisfied with that. And
Okay.
I'm really excited because the Heart of DANU is so close. May 23rd. It's my cousin's birthday. So
Nice.
it's his 18th, I think.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, 18th.
That's a big one.
I'm losing track because he's now like he's gonna be an adult. Oh my god. My mom's gonna
kind of
freak
an
out.
adult.
Yeah, and it's gonna be like a birthday present for I might give it to him. I might give him a copy, like for a birthday present.
Well, thank you.
I gotta spread the word about the Heart of DANU because I know it's gonna be so good because the first Kelsey Murphy book was. And now it's time for the final question for today. In honor of November being the month of giving thanks, I'm asking everyone I interview, who are you most thankful for?
Well, I'm most thankful for my family. I mean, I have an incredible supportive partner in my husband, and I have a wonderful son and a wonderful daughter who are always there for me. I'm also very thankful for my dog who drives me crazy. But I'm definitely most thankful for my family because they're just so we're kind of our own little Fiona. So
The Lewis Fiona.
The Lewis Fiona, exactly.
I love that. And I think that family is so important, and I think that I'd be most thankful for my family, the crazy Fiona. That's what I'd call us.
Crazy. Oh, well, they seem pretty supportive.
Yeah, crazy supportive. And
you've got some amazing dreams you're making come true. I'm so impressed. So
thank you. And I'm so impressed with your writing. I mean, I know you're an adult, but like Kelsey Murphy and the Academy for the Unbreakable Arts kept my attention more than most books that I've ever read, even books that I read in one sitting. Kelsey Murphy, I told my mom I need to read this in the shower. Is there a way I can do that? There wasn't. I had to wait, but I went like right after I got out of the shower. I was like, I need to read this. I need to read this.
Well, thank you. That's amazing. That makes all of the work worthwhile. We need to.
Well, I think that your work is worthwhile times 100 because Kelsey Murphy, one of the best, well, now it's a series that I've ever read. And it's been so nice having you back on Eat Train Talks and getting the chance to talk to you again. And I want to take a moment to thank you for being so supportive of everything I do. And just thank you for writing your books because that was 2 hours of my time that were spent reading and smiling and jumping up and down at the awesome conclusion and cliffhangers. And also, I'm so excited for Kelsey Murphy for the Heart of DANU, which I can hardly wait to read. And I'm so happy to be able to share the exciting news about your new book coming out.
Yeah.
And just getting to be one of the first people to learn about it and share a bit about it. Congratulations. And I'm sure everyone listening is dying to read all the books in the Kelsey series.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It's been an honor. And everybody, you need to read Erika's books. You will not regret it. And this concludes my very first Rumor Has It episode where authors return to talk about their upcoming books and new books. Erika's book comes out May 23rd, 2023, not 2024. So stay tuned. That's less than a year. Woo! Yep. And be sure to follow Erika's writing journey on social media and on erikalewis.com. I just saw that she joined the Hive Social, so you can find her there, everyone.
Yes.
And until next time, everyone, stay safe.
30-second dance party.
Keep reading, and I'll see you soon.